Everybody was saying, well, the team was going to go down. I think the players' pride were hurt because we have a lot of individual talent, great players, and they don't get any respect before. So now they have something to prove. And they came together as a team. The effort was there, and they did a fantastic job.
Greatness comes to mind when discussing Hakeem Olajuwon, an all-time basketball great who dominated with unparalleled talent and footwork. Redefining what it meant to be a big man in basketball, Hakeem was a two-time NBA champion, league MVP, two-time Defensive Player of the Year, and widely considered to have the best post moves ever. However, even the best athletes have faced opponents who push them to improve. Let's explore 6 legends that the Dream himself acknowledged for their struggles during his illustrious career. Patrick Ewing, the tough competitor. Patrick Ewing is a player who entered every battle prepared to dominate and enforce his way. He is a warrior. Hakeem frequently referred to Patrick as one of his most formidable opponents, saying that the player brought unparalleled physicality and enthusiasm to the game. In an interview, Hakeem stated that Patrick played the game with passion and force. I had to improve every time I faced him. He was a serious rival. As the focal point of the Patrick, a Hall of Fame center and member of the New York Knicks, was renowned for his commanding presence in the paint, fighting for every square inch of the court, crashing the boards with authority and precisely blocking shots. His fights with Hakeem made each encounter a test of willpower, strength, and ability. The famous 1994 NBA Finals, where Hakeem's Rockets defeated Patrick's Knicks following a grueling 7-game series, is one matchup that sticks out. Hakeem performed flawlessly on each drop step, fadeaway, and dream shake. Patrick responded with fearless leadership, hard rebounds, and unrelenting defense. Hakeem remembered that Patrick never let up. In order to keep his team in the game, he was constantly battling. You had to respect him for the grit and commitment with which he played. According to Hakeem, Ewing's unique blend of stature, strength, and adaptability was what made him so difficult. No one has better timing on defense than Patrick. He may increase his offensive output and score with deft post moves, but he could also use his strength too. Physically dominating, Hakeem clarified, but there was respect outside of basketball. Hakeem praised Young for pushing him to new heights and loved the competitive fire he brought. I am who I am because of guys like Patrick. Every time we faced each other, he pushed me to be the best version of myself, Hakeem stated admiringly. The rivalry represents the beauty that results from the collision of two unstoppable forces, an indisputable aspect of basketball history in the 1990s.
All right. Toughest matchup for you during your NBA career?
Hakeem Olajuwon.
How come? Just so athletic?
Athletic, quick, the dream shake.
David Robinson. Athleticism is admired. Renowned for being the Admiral, he was among the most charismatic big guys of Hakeem's era. Robinson was the epitome of athleticism and talent, with unparalleled speed, agility, and pure power, making him an absolute terror to contend with. David was a physical specimen who could do it all, Hakeem himself stated. He was one of the hardest players to outmaneuver and defend. Their animosity peaked spectacularly in the 1995 Western Conference Finals, a matchup that still makes basketball fans shudder. Robinson, who deserved recognition for his incredible dominance on the floor, had recently won league MVP that season. However, he received more than he had anticipated when he met Hakeem's Rockets. Hakeem was on a mission, scoring an incredible 35 points per game on average over the series, and putting on one of the greatest playoff performances in NBA history. All the tools were with David. He was unlike any other big guy in his ability to maneuver around the floor, defend, and score. At one point, Hakeem thought of his renowned rival. There was more to each match than just basketball. It was a contest of cunning and skill. Two guys redefined what it meant to be an NBA center in this exhibition. Their rivalry on the court was matched by their mutual respect off it. Hakeem described Robinson as one of the classiest athletes he had ever encountered, praising his leadership and modesty. Robinson didn't like to start arguments or cause trouble. Hakeem found him even more admirable since he let his game speak for itself. Hakeem acknowledged He taught me how to push myself mentally and physically. It was a gift of basketball poetry in action for the spectators who were fortunate enough to see their matches. Moses Malone, the guide. Contestant. Moses influenced his career from the start as a mentor. Moses was the one who first exposed Hakeem to the reality of professional basketball when he joined the NBA as a young player with a lot of promise. I learned to be tough from Moses, Hakeem said in an interview. He taught me what it meant to compete when I initially joined the league. I developed as a result of his harsh treatment of me. There was no mentor like Malone. One of the best rebounders in basketball and a ferocious competitor. He was a 3-time MVP. In front of him was like gazing down a natural power. Olajuwon had to improve throughout practice and real matches due to Malone's unrelenting approach. Intense, physically taxing, and downright strategic were the conflicts fought in the post. Malone was a constant threat because of his strength and cunning. However, Hakeem saw every interaction as a chance to gain knowledge. Classroom instruction was not used for these lessons. They were gained by work, sweat, and bruises. Hakeem valued Malone's mentoring off the court more than his unquestionable domination on it. More significantly, he taught Hakeem how to psychologically prepare for the demands of an elite career and pushed him to match his intensity. The power of nature, Shaquille O'Neal. Every time Hakeem and Shaq on the floor, he knew what he was up against. Shaq was a mountain, not just large. His physical superiority was unmatched by anybody. Hakeem once said, "The younger O'Neal entered the league like a wrecking ball, using his massive frame, unmatched power, and intimidating style to bully his way to the rim." Going against him was a task like no other for Hakeem. You couldn't just surpass Shaq. Hakeem clarified, you had to outsmart him, maintain discipline, and be prepared for the next play. Both players' legacies were solidified by their historic matchup in the 1995 NBA Finals. Although Hakeem's Rockets won their second straight title thanks to Shaq's wizardry, the series wasn't as simple as the outcomes would indicate since Shaq was in every game and continuously placed pressure on Hakeem's defense. Hakeem had nothing but admiration for his youthful opponent, even though he dominated the series. Sometimes he was unstoppable. He couldn't be moved. He was too fast for you. The sheer force of shock compelled Olajuwon to use more of his arsenal. Use patience, skill, and footwork to counteract physical force. I had to use my experience and all the moves I had perfected over the years just to find a way to compete, Hakeem stated. The combat was extremely intriguing because of the collision of styles. Hakeem wowed with spin moves and a delicate touch around the rim, while Shaq dominated his way to dunks and rebounds. Basketball at its best, fans were treated to a clash of generational abilities. Hakeem appreciated Shaq's enthusiasm for the game and his exuberant demeanor off the court. You could sense the electricity of Shaq. He was unique not just because of his play, but also because of the way he conducted himself. Hakeem agreed on, the mutual respect between the two was undeniable, even as they competed at the highest level. The master of the sky hook, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Hakeem referenced Kareem with the utmost respect. Kareem was flawless. He once declared that the sky hook was unstoppable, solidifying Kareem's status as an inspiration as much as an adversary. Because their careers overlapped, their conflicts were short. Every game had a lasting effect on Hakeem. Kareem was an institution, not simply a player. Kareem literally and figuratively dominated the competition as the NBA's all-time top scorer, 6-time league MVP, and 6-time champion. More than just a hallmark shot, the famous skyhook was a technique that no defense ever really figured out. It was a representation of poise and power. For Hakeem, protecting that shot meant protecting creativity as much as genius. It was like attempting to block poetry when you try to halt the skyhook. Hakeem said it was impossible. Kareem, however, was a master of the fundamentals and had a steady pace. Hakeem discovered these teachings firsthand, stating, I had to think more tactically on defense because of Kareem's intelligence and composed demeanor. Every item he had against him was a mental challenge. Like a chess genius, Kareem could choose the pace, slowing the game to his own beat and keeping opponents guessing all the time. Hakey respected Kareem's insight and impact, both as a player and as a person outside of the court. Hakey remarked in infrequent interviews and post-game talks how Kareem exuded unparalleled grace and embodied brilliance both on and off the court. Whenever I got the chance to talk with him, I gained something meaningful. Hakey acknowledged. These moments included perception as much as tactics. How to be a leader and a competitor, and how to approach the game with patience and humility. Charles Barkley, the little powerhouse. Compared to most giants wandering the paint, he was tiny. However, don't be fooled by its immensity. He was one of Hakey's most difficult opponents because of his intensity. Charles acted as though he was 7 feet tall. He didn't back down from his attack on you. Regarding the Hall of Fame forward, Hakey once stated, Barkley had more than simply talent. On the court, he played relentlessly and with an unbounded enthusiasm. Barkley's unmatched strength, light-footed quickness, and unrelenting aggressiveness made up for his lack of height and left opponents guessing and struggling. Despite having a clear size disadvantage, Barkley was able to gather rebounds and score from almost anywhere on the field, which impressed Hakey. Charles was erratic. Hakey said, "You never knew where he'd strike next." Barkley's flamboyant personality and trash talk were more than simply amusement. They used his psychological tricks and weapons to derail opponents. But Hakey was unfazed by that. Rather, he enthusiastically accepted the task. They had unquestionable respect for each other off the court. Hakey described Barkley as a force of nature and praised his enthusiasm and competitive drive. Their interactions, which went beyond the game's rules, were a collision of personalities and abilities that embodied passion, vigor, and sheer showmanship. It was more than simply outscoring and out-offending when playing Barkley. It was about keeping up with his physical and mental pace. Barkley always made him earn it, even though he frequently prevailed in battles. These 6 icons challenged Hakeem and had a profound effect on his extraordinary career since they each offered something special to the table. Hakey's admiration for his hardest opponents demonstrates why he is regarded as one of the greatest of all time, exhibiting the pinnacle of sportsmanship. And his admirers had the good fortune to see what occurs on the court when legends come together to make magic. Are you of the opinion that Hakey was overrated? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Okay, that's it for today. Remember to click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.